Tonight, we've got a question from someone who's looking for new games to play with their grandkids. And we're going to suggest some games the family should love based on their current favorites.
So welcome to episode 277 of the Tabletop Bellhop Gaming Podcast, Grandmother's House, gateway games to play with your grandkids and other new gamers.
To go with tonight's topic, we've got two reviews from the new Queen Games Family and Friends line, Star Explorer and Moonlight Market. We're also going to be sharing what we've been playing lately, including first thoughts on Nana and another successful Walkerville Brewery game night.
Before we get to any of that, we better let people know who we are. I'm Sean, your host, and with me, Webmaster Indiana.
I am Deanna, it's true.
Yes.
Hello to all the Bellhop boarders.
And Mo, the Tabletop Bellhop himself.
Got that one right. Mo, the Tabletop and Bellhopping. I am Mo Tuzano, the Tabletop Bellhop, your cardboard concierge, working with you to make your game nights better, even when I forget to put games that are on my desk in the backdrop.
We like to record on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, live at twitch.tv/Tabletop Bellhop, and we love it when people join us in the lobby, our chat room here on Twitch.
Okay, before we move on, I've got a little bit of housekeeping. First, disclosure. Wherever you're consuming this, any links you see are most likely affiliate links, which cost you nothing extra, but help support the show. You can find detailed show notes for this episode over at tabletopbellhop.com/episode 277. That's 277. And I do mean detailed. In the show notes, we list every game we talk about with links to where you can find a copy or more info on it. And finally, I want to acknowledge that this episode exists because of the support of our awesome Patreon patrons.
One quick announcement before we get to our main topic.
All right, this one's actually for the Windsor, Detroit, maybe London. I don't know if Ohio might be too far, but people who feel like driving for a bit for a one-day gaming convention being held here in Windsor, Ontario. That convention is The Summoning, which is going to be held on July 26th at St. Clair College.
This 12-hour event is going to run from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. and includes multiple CCG tournaments. Like we've got Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Lorcana, Flesh and Blood, Magic the Gathering, you name it. Plus over 50 vendors, a speed painting contest. There's going to be an escape room, esport tournaments featuring Marvel Rivals, Super Smash Bros., Tekken, and Street Fighter, Warhammer 40K tournament, and more.
The most important event is, of course, the free-to-play board game area, hosted by us, the Tabletop Bellhop. We'll have a menu of great games on hand, and we'll again have a selection of play-to-win games that we'll be giving away at 8 p.m. sharp. Our area will be open until 9 p.m.
So this is the second year of the Summoning. This will be our second time taking part, and we had a great time last year. And this year, man, are they pulling out all the stops to make it bigger and better. You'll be able to find us in the main cafeteria area, which is right near the entrance, so you won't be able to miss us. And yes, I do think this one might be worth coming and driving into Windsor for if you're not too far away.
Okay, I'm going to drop a link in our chat in a moment for more information where you can sign up for early bird tickets, which are only $15. And $15 for 12 hours of gaming, that's not bad. You should note that some of the tournaments and events may have additional fees, but you don't have to pay anything extra to come hang out with us in the board game area and possibly win some play-to-win games.
So one more thing before we go on, I'm going to throw in here last minute, and that is a big thank you to the USAopoly publishers we've worked with for a number of years for providing the Walkerville High School with a game library so that Gwen's board game club can continue once she's gone. Huge shout out to the op for responding to her. Gwen reached out and they wrote back, and actually today packages arrived at the school. So big thank you to the op for supporting local gaming and gaming in high schools. And I can probably already thank Outset Media as well, though nothing's shown up from them yet. And maybe we'll call them out on a future episode. So thank you, the op.
The librarian at Gwen's school was so excited to be able to add these to their school library. So it was pretty sweet.
The Tabletop Bellhop team is here to answer your gaming and game night questions. Tonight, our question comes from Wendy Schotterstein, who writes, I love playing Ticket to Ride, Splendor, Azul, and Skyjo with my 9 and 13-year-old grandchildren. We want something new. What do you recommend?
Oh, hey, Wendy. Thank you so much for the awesome question. I'd love I adore the fact you're playing games with your grandkids already. And it's great because you've already found some favorites. So I have to assume you're having fun, and they're also having fun as well. So that's pretty fantastic. The selection you've already picked are actually some of the most well-known and most popular gateway games, and some of our all-time favorites. I don't think we're ever going to get sick of Azul or talking about Azul. We're almost the Azul podcast. Oh man, I didn't put Grunto on the list as a recommendation. I should have, because that's the other game we talk about an awful lot. So I'm hoping tonight we can help you find a few more games, and I'm also hoping the rest of you listening can also take these suggestions to heart and maybe discover a new game great for playing with your family.
Honestly, multi-generational gaming is my favorite. We go over to my mom's every Sunday for family game night, and usually we get 3 generations together at the table, and it is the best part of the week.
And of course,
that's actually just because she doesn't have to cook, not because the games.
And of course, family game night doesn't have to be restricted to just your actual blood relatives. Anyone you call family is a great addition to your family game night, however they become part of your family.
So my main trick, one of the tricks I've learned doing this for a number of years and tending to be the person with the game collection and the person hosting local game nights here is my trick is to figure out what people like already. And then if possible, what they like about those games. Like that's where it's easier for me. And I can make a better match if I can do that, because if I know what you already enjoy, I can figure out other games that have similar themes or similar mechanics. So that's actually what I'm going to be doing tonight with our recommendations. Now, unfortunately, Wendy's question doesn't tell us exactly what they like about each game. That would be an added bonus, and the kind of thing that if I was sitting across from Wendy right now, we would have a conversation and go, oh, you like Ticket to Ride? What do you like about Ticket to Ride? Or what's your favorite part of Sky Joe? So we're going to have to guess on that part of this and just kind of go with the general mechanics that these games are based on.
But we can make some pretty educated guesses by breaking down the mechanics and the classics that she listed. So there's that. And hey, Wendy, if we get it wrong, write us back and let us know where we strayed, and we'll try and address the topic again.
All right.
Sounds good.
Well, let's start off with the first game Wendy recommended, Ticket to Ride. Our first recommendation for a different gateway game similar to Ticket Ride is Copenhagen from Queen Games.
So we picked this one as the core mechanic, the core loop. What you're doing is very similar to Ticket to Ride to me. You're collecting sets of colored cards. You're drawing 2 cards at a time. The market wipes if enough special cards come on. Like that's all directly the same as Ticket to Ride, except this time you're collecting colors for facades on a building. So if you've ever seen or been to Copenhagen or seen pictures of Copenhagen, along the waterfront are all these very brightly colored buildings, very tall and skinny buildings. And that's what you're building is you're using cards to draft polyominoes. So to get like a 3-square polyomino, you'll need 3 cards. If you want a big 6-square polyomino, you need 6 cards of the same color. And then you're putting them onto like this building that's very tall and kind of looks Tetris-like. And you're going to get discounts for placing the same colors next to each other. And you're going to earn points for completing rows. And you're going to get covering up certain spots on the board is going to give you victory points. There's a lot of neat stuff going on that makes it very different from Ticket to Ride then.
Yeah, I played this game for the first time when we were at the Adam Retreat back in March, and I didn't love it. I thought it was too simple. Like I wanted something more from it, some kind of end game scoring, something asynchronous. I don't know. I wanted something a little bit crunchier. But then I was thinking about it, and everything about why I didn't like Copenhagen is exactly why it's the perfect entry level game. Like it's really straightforward. You score as you go along. There's no surprises.
Well, next up we've got Through the Desert, recently re-released and available again thanks to All Play.
So this is looking at the other side of Ticket to Ride, the route building, the playing your cards to put out different connecting routes and filling a map with your playing pieces. This is a game about making a caravan of camels with the riders on them through a desert, right? Through the desert. That's exactly what it's about. Now, unlike Ticket to Ride, the routes aren't on the board, so you're not making established connections. You can put your camels in anywhere you want. And what you're actually trying to do in this one is wall off different areas of the map. So you're trying to make like rows of camels that surround trees or cut off corners of the map, and then you get points for every hex you've surrounded at the end of the game. So you're just kind of like carving out territory with camels, but it's got that rope building feel. It's got nice plastic pieces. It feels like putting trains on the map. Instead, you're putting little camels. This is actually a really neat game that's been around for a very long time. It's one of the Aaliyah games, one of the big games when like Catan was the most popular thing out there, that I'm so happy is brought back to life. Vassal's Law in effect here, really, with all play, bringing it back with an all new edition that looks fantastic.
Okay, in the previous edition, though, the camels looked like candy. Do the camels now look edible? That's what I need to know.
Definitely not as much. The original camels looked like hard sugar candies, like 100% looked like hard sugar candy.
Like the kind I would find at my grandmother's house.
Yeah, there you go. Tie it in. Cute. No, the new ones are brightly colored and they're plastic, but they look like brightly colored plastic camels more than pieces of candy that you happen to be playing with.
Well, and also, just as part of this all-play release, they have also released an expansion. So if you are loving Through the Desert, you can now get an expansion which features 4 different modules that you can swap in and out of the game as well. An amazing development for a game that's been hanging around for 27 years.
Wow. I see that. Now I want it because I don't have an expansion in my version of Through the Desert. Though I think I'd keep my candy camels because there's something enduring.
Our version just expired. It's no good anymore.
Yeah, no, but it has candy camels.
All right. Well,
there's few games that look more edible than Azul.
All right. Well, the next game on Wendy's list is Splendor, a gateway engine building game that we all enjoy and continues to get played constantly at our public play events.
So at first, the first thing I saw Splendor, and we're talking about public play events. Something that's been huge at our public play events is Gizmos from Simon. That is a really neat engine building game about making science experiments with this very toyotic thing with marbles, and I love it. And I want to tell you, go get this, but you can't. It seems it's currently out of print. Simon, for anyone who's paying attention, is having some difficulty right now. They're currently selling off various licenses. And as far as I can tell, Gizmos is in the nebula right now. Simon still owns the rights, but even on their own webpage, they say it's out of print. So I can't tell you to go buy Gizmos, but I want to. If you happen to see it, at a yard sale or someone's clearing out their collection, or you find some new old stock at a local game store, I do recommend that one.
So instead, I suggested Fantastic Factories. Yep. Now, I know this one looks intimidating, but trust me, the game is way simpler than you would expect. And it's similar to Splendor in that it's a very pure engine building game. You're building a factory to produce goods. It comes from Friendly Skeleton, and it gets played almost as often as Splendor at our events. Like, it hits the table a lot.
All right. Well, our next recommendation is Century Spice Road, and specifically the Golem edition, just because that version looks cooler.
Yeah, I don't know. Like the trading spices on the Spice Road makes perfect sense. Kind of goes with Through the Desert if you want to do a themed night about caravans. But I'm sorry, like collecting gems to power golems is just so much cooler to me. There are no differences between these two games except for the look and the theme. So pick whichever one you want, to be honest. But Golem's just cooler. This one was an easy one to me because, like, I don't know, it's like Century is just Splendor but better. Sorry, Splendor. It's just cooler components. You get plastic trays to hold the gems. And yes, I like the coins in Splendor, especially we actually have the old edition with the metal poker chips, so they got some weight to them. But like, I don't know, the little colored beads are just nice to the touch. And I enjoy the mechanics a little more in Century. Like, you're still trading in colored things to buy cards, and then those cards let you buy more colored things, and eventually you buy cards worth points. But there's more player agency and less randomness in Century, the way the market works. And you never have a thing that I actually don't like in games where the perfect card flips up for the next player. Like, you buy a thing, and then the card that they can easily afford that gives them 18 points is right there. Boom, you got that because you were lucky. That's something I don't like in Splendor. So Century kind of fixes that problem.
I've never actually played Century. One that came to mind for me is Jaipur, where you're trading and selling goods. But then I realized that's specifically a 2-player game, so it might not work if Wendy's hoping to sit down and play with both of her grandkids at once. So let's call it an honorable mention.
Okay.
All right. Well, Wendy's next game is Azul, which you know that we all love.
Mhm.
The first off, the one thing we recommend is just trying the other games in the Azul series, with Summer Pavilion being the most welcoming to newer players out of the bunch.
Yeah.
Now, if you're looking for something that doesn't have Azul on the box, how about Reef?
So Reef came to mind right away for me, and I think it's mainly because it's the same publisher as Azul, Next Move Games. One of the things you'll notice about their games is every one of their games is only 4 letters. So if you see a 4-lettered game, it's probably Next Move Games. This has a very similar feel, and I don't know why. Because gameplay is actually quite different, but it just kind of feels Azul-like. Each turn, you're playing a card. Each card has 2 parts. The top part of the card is going to give you new coral pieces to put on a 3D reef that you're building with these big, chunky, tactile, Fisher-Price toy feeling pieces of coral. Then you score the bottom part of the card, and that's based on the top-down view of what you're building in your reef. It's actually quite simple. It plays very quickly. Points start to add up and build up. It's just simple to learn. There's lots of decision points, and it does reward long-term planning where you could get a card in turn 1 and just perfectly set up your reef to maximize the points on that card while getting some other points, or you can play pretty freely and just playing tactically with whatever comes up.
Yeah, Reef, that's a great suggestion. The way you're building colors and patterns does have a similar feel to Azul, but you're also building upwards, creating a 3D reef, which is just kind of neat. I know our kids really like this one when I introduce them to it.
Now, this is one we don't talk about often, but I know gets mentioned a lot among Azul fans. And that would be my recommendation of Sagrada.
Yeah, that one's from Floodgate Games. That has more of an Azul feel, I would say, than Reef. You definitely have an Azul feel. In this case, you're putting different colored dice on to form a stained glass window. And it's got some really interesting rules where you can't put the same color next to the same color or the same number. And sometimes you are forced to draft different ones, and it's got a drafting market. And then there's different goals and randomized player scoring. Very neat game that honestly, that's one we need to get out again. It's one we should be bringing to our public play events. A great older game that still has staying power. I totally support that recommendation.
And the newest version is only 2 years old. So
well, I know there's a legacy version of Sagrada.
And there's a bunch of other Sagradas, but the Sagrada actually just put out a 2023 version of Sagrada, a new edition of the game in 2023. So
bonus tip. If you like Sagrada, go to Blue Sky, follow Floodgate Games. They post a Sagrada puzzle every day.
All right. Well, our next suggestion for Azul fans is a bit of a step up, but worth that step. And that's Harmonies from Libelud.
Okay, here the market's very similar. You're drafting sets of tiles from a market similar to Azul. You're only getting 3 instead of 4. And then you're placing them on your own personal player board. The difference here, and this is different from Sagrada as well, is you're not matching a pattern. You get to place things wherever you want. Instead, you're building a habitat to try to attract animals by matching the patterns shown on the animal cards. We are absolutely loving Harmonies. It's been a huge hit at our public play events, and specifically with the same groups who had enjoyed Azul at our events. So like people show up and they played Azul and we're like, if you liked Azul, try Harmonies. And everyone who has come back and went, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Honestly, of all the recommendations we have for you tonight, to me, this is the one I put my most faith in. I think is going to be the strongest recommendation. People love the animal cards, especially grandkids. I could see them really getting into the artwork. And I love the look of your board when you're done. The fact you have this like 3D topographical map in front of you.
Harmonies, yes. This game is just so darn good. If you haven't tried it yet, do it. You're going to love it. Trust me.
All right. Well, the last game on Wendy's list is Skyjo, a quick-playing family-weight card game about scoring the lowest possible score with a tableau of 12 cards.
So the scoring in this game, or golf scoring, whatever you want to call it, really reminded me of No Thanks from Amigo. So that's my first recommendation here. Now, instead of flipping cards up for your hand and potentially swapping them with cards in the middle of the table or other players, here there's just one card you got to worry about. It gets passed around the table. It comes to you. You either take it or you say no thanks and put a chip on it and pass it along. Out of chips, you're stuck taking that card. Whoever gets the card, though, gets all the chips so they can pass more later. At the end of the game, you just add up all your cards, but, and here's where Sky Joe's very similar, any sets, any runs only score the lowest card in the run. So you might get stuck with a 23, but if you can get the 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, whatever, you're only going to score that lowest card. Now, the other bonus here is Wendy only mentioned 2 grandkids, but this also has the bonus of playing up to 7 players. So if you've got a bigger family, or if the parents want to join in with the grandkids, or if the grandkids want to invite some friends over, you've got a nice big group game that's dead simple to learn.
Yeah, that's the kind of game that you break out at a family party. One I was thinking of was The Deadlies, which is like Uno for gamers. But then I wasn't sure if I wanted to include it because I think it's gone out of print.
And one other option is The Game is a perfectly good sort of game in a similar genre to Sky Joe. Now, if what you like about Sky Joe is making those sets and runs, then you should check out Reign of Dragoness from Grandpa Beck.
So this is a very different style of game from Sky Joe, but it's still a traditional card game. It's still got the kind of traditional card game mechanics. It's a hand shedding game where the lead player sets a pattern of, say, a set of cards or a single card or a set of like all the same number, or a run, say a run up to 5. And then each other player has to build on that by playing and following the exact same pattern. So if I play 3 3s, you could play 3 5s, and the next player could play 3 9s, and the next player could play 3 12s, for example. Or if I had 1 through 5 and it's 3 cards, or sorry, that's 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's 5 cards, 1 through 5, you could play 2 through 6, or someone later could play a larger set of 5. That's it. That's pretty much the basics of the game. Each set has each suit has a different rank, and the first player to void their hand gets 3 points. Then the 2 players that have the least cards score 2 and 1 point. You do that for 3 rounds, and the lowest score wins, or the highest score wins. Sorry, I'm stuck on Sky doing the lowest score. I probably should have came up with another card game where lowest score wins. But yeah, this one's higher, but it's that building the sets. And honestly, the Deadlies has the same thing where you can play a run, or you can play all the same suit, or you can play all the same number.
Yeah, Reign of Dragoness is one of the first things that popped into my head. And I was also thinking of Skull King from Grandpa Beck, because it's just got that very, if you understand traditional card games, you can pick this up and play it, kind of really approachable feel. For lowest score thing, I was thinking of Sandbag. But I didn't know if that was like a step too far for entry level, because it's one of the more complex trick takers that we've played.
Yeah, Skull King, I do recommend if you already know trick taking. So Wendy, if you play euchre or hearts or spades with your grandkids, I think Skull King's a great recommendation. Sandbag, I'm with you, Anna, though. I think that's a bit of a step up.
All right, well, now the real challenge. Can we think of a game that would be a good fit for all 4 of these games? Is there something that combines elements from all of them?
All right. I feel like I needed a week to think about this, and we don't have it. So when we first started working on this, I had no flipping clue, but I have come up with one. And I don't know, it's got elements of all of them, and that is Endangered. This is a card-driven game. There are strong engine building elements because you start off with a small engine. The more cards you get in play, the more you can do. There's cool components, if that's one of the things you like, or like the little trains and Ticket to Ride, because you get meeples. Same with Azul's got awesome components. There's order fulfillment, kind of. I guess that's kind of what it is, because you have UN cards that have requirements on them that you're trying to get to by the end of the game. And you can kind of skip the requirements by just throwing a bunch of reputation cubes up there or whatever. But like there's some of it. There's a bit of each of those games there. And yeah, it's a bit of a stretch. Now, the big thing that's completely different from all these games, and why I did decide to keep this on the list, is this is cooperative. So this has nothing in common with the 4 games Wendy mentioned, but I want to include it because maybe Wendy should try a cooperative game. Because I've got to say, playing cooperative games with my extended family, we often have more fun with everyone working together. And this is even more true if the kids are younger. Now, I realize Wendy's kids, or grandkids in this case, are older, one in their teens. But if you're playing with younger kids, cooperative is often the best because then the adults can help out the kids.
So when you first suggested that we should find something that crossed all four of these, I was like, nope, nope, absolutely nothing is coming to mind. But eventually I thought of Takanoko, which again, you got super cute components because you got those very toyerific little bamboo pieces that are colorful that you're stacking up. You got a cute panda, like all of that's there. It's card driven. You sort of have the route building with where you're laying the irrigation bits down. You have the order fulfillment where you're trying to give the panda certain patterns of colors or stacks for the bamboo. So I think it covers all four elements.
All right. Well, I don't have anything that's actually going to hit all those elements, but I do have something, and I'm going to put this in as an honorable mention because, to the best of my knowledge, none of us have actually physically played this game. But that is the Get On Board series. So Get On Board New York and London, and Get On Board Paris and Roma. These are a flip and write route building bus game with a really interesting concept. And I think as a flip and write, you've got that ability to sort of help each other out, but it also does have a big main board that you're playing on. There's some toyerific pieces involved. So Get On Boards, New York and London, or Paris and Roma, depending on whether you want to feel European or not, could be a great option for your family.
Yeah, from what I know in these games, that sounds like a strong recommendation. No, we haven't played them. Something we should try to fix.
All right. Well, there you have game recommendations based on each of the games that Wendy's family is currently enjoying.
Now, before we move on, I do want to call out one previous episode in an article on the blog that specifically looks at games for people who enjoy Ticket to Ride. Now, this in particular looks for train games. Next step, train games for players to play Ticket to Ride. But since Wendy did call it Ticket to Ride as one of her favorite games to play with her grandkids, they may also want to check these out. So the podcast in question is episode 132, entitled Working on the Railroad. And the article over on the blog is 25 next step train games from Ticket to Ride. Links to both will be in the show notes.
Yeah, you can find links to that in our show notes. You can find links to everything in our show notes. We work together to produce highly detailed show notes for every podcast episode, including links to all of the games we mentioned, as well as other useful stuff. Just type in tabletopbellhop.com and then a / followed by the episode number. So, for example, you can find the notes for tonight's episode over at tabletopbellhop.com / episode 277.
Welcome to the Bellhop's Tabletop, where we talk about the games we've been playing lately.
Since we were last here, we have hosted our June Brews and Board Games event at the Walkerville Brewery. That was early in the month this year, due to expecting to be at Origins in Ohio right now. The night started off slow, surprisingly slow, in a slightly concerning, what are people not enjoying this anymore kind of way, but then filled up. It took a bit to fill in. And by the end of the night, it was as full as it's ever been. We had a nice, good crowd by the end of the night. More noteworthy to me, though, not just the crowds, was that just people seemed to be having a better time. And I'm not sure what we did to encourage that, or if people were just in a better mood or what was going on. But I had more people that night come up to me, shake my hand, say, thank you for hosting these. We had an awesome time. Thank you for showing me games. Oh, I played something I never would have played before. It was awesome. The amount of positive feedback I got, our last event was more than I've ever received at any of our events.
Yeah, and it's a small, silly thing, but I'm really excited that people are actually using those notebooks I put in the games. I put pens out on all the tables. Well, not all the tables. Many of the tables, I didn't have enough pens to go around. But so that there would be pens there for people to write in, and people were writing in it. And I don't know, it's a small, silly thing that just made me happy. It was a really good vibe. Yeah,
I didn't feel as useful this time because people are coming in and getting into groups, and a lot of people are coming up going, oh, I want this game. I want this game, or I just finished this. What's next? And it's one of those things where it's like, oh, well, if you played that, here, this is what you're going to love. Sort of really easy options to go through. I didn't have to do any of the sommelier type work that sometimes happens when we get new folks in who are just confused at the table full of board games.
Yeah, it amused me because there was these two fellows that were at the cookie bar the previous week, and they were going to play Mackie Master, set it up, they might have even started, and then they went, oh no, we've got to go. It's almost 9. And I went, the cookie bar event actually goes later. We're here till 10, and they was like, no, but we have to go eat dinner, and everywhere's going to be closed, so we got to go. Well, they came into the Walkerville event, just made a beeline to the table, and we're looking around. And I went, oh, I know what you're looking for, because they came to get Mackie Masters and go back and set it up and play it because they had picked it out the week before. So that amused me.
Yeah, and that particular couple, I don't mean they're together, but pair of people seem to really enjoy Mackie Master. So they were willing to learn it on their own. We offered to help. They said no, and I gotta say I appreciate everyone who does that. I understand not everyone learns the same way. Some people learn better by reading. That's me. I would rather sit down with a rule book and have some lonely fun of reading it on my own than have someone teach me a game most of the time. So
yeah, but
it's good.
You love teaching them too. So
Well, yeah.
I mean, it's
All right. As for games, we're just going to kind of fire through these pretty quickly. Lone Wolves, that's a 2-player only area majority trick-taking game, proved to be very popular with a group of local gamers. They adored it. I think they played 3 or 4 rounds in a row, and specifically pointed out they would be getting a hold of the local game store to see if they could get a copy. Another group played round after round of Quicksand. This is a game I don't actually know that looked fascinating, but it's like Skyrockets, where you have sand timers and you have to keep the sand timers going, or you sink in the quicksand. Deanna would absolutely hate this game.
Yeah, no, not playing that one.
Next was Floristry, was very popular again this month. That game is just a hit, quick to teach. It looks pretty. And it's one of the games I think sells itself by people seeing it. They're like, oh, I want what that group was playing earlier. That looked cool. Star Explorers was also popular. Another couple hoping to find enough players to play Blood on the Clock Tower became obsessed with Catch the Moon. I couldn't even tell you how many games they played in a row. And it was really funny to watch because their first game, the tower, was so sad, I guess, is a polite way of saying it. They weren't very good at balancing things. They actually ran across the bar and flagged me down to show me how well they did, because they actually switched to the cooperative rules and they were working together to build this thing. If you're on our Discord, I think I shared a picture of this in our local events forum area. They loved the game, like completely sold on it, adored it. And like I said, it was so funny to see it switch from this kind of pile of things to this like sprawling thing that was about 3 feet wide. It was pretty awesome.
Oh, I missed that. I'm sad I didn't notice the massive Catch the Moon display when it was live. I taught Floristry a couple times, and it seems to go over really well every time. People just get it just like that.
Sushi Dice was the big family game hit this time. There's a family of 4 who comes out fairly regularly with their 2 younger kids. When they can get a babysitter, they come out on their own, but they brought the kids this time, and that kept them busy for quite a while. Case File, which looked pretty interesting. That's not one I've personally gotten to play. The group that was playing Quicksand switched over to that one, and it looked like an interesting deduction game. There was a large group of 6 players who I introduced to Trap Words, and they kept the game all night. That game was checked out. Sorry, they had it, and they were having a great time. I'm just glad I brought that one. It was one that, like, I wandered in the basement, went, oh, we haven't had that out in a while, and I'm so glad I brought that. Gwen and I played and taught a game of Emerald Skulls with the advanced betting rules, which went over way better than the basic betting rules with the 2 players who had played before. Then Deanna and I got the Quicksand Case File group to start playing Bean, as in Bonanza. Took a bit to get them going, but oh my gosh, did they love it once they figured it out.
Yeah, there's a reason that game is a classic. Like they just had their 20th or 25th anniversary edition came out. That game is always a hit.
There were multiple plays of Hues and Cues. That one proves to be popular. You can thank TikTok and other viral videos for making that game. Everyone knows that one already and knows how to play it. Thrones of Valeria completely won over a group of 5. And that, to go with tonight's episode, was a nice multi-generational group with parents there with their kids and their kids' all playing. That was another one where I'm hoping CG Realm will be able to hook them up with a copy, because that's where I send them to hopefully find one. One group of regulars was playing a classics-themed heavy Euro. Did you happen to catch what they were playing, Dee? I knew it was classics, so you might have got over there. I knew the name at the time,
Nope.
But I forget.
No, I saw the box from across the bar, but I can't read things from across the bar. It looked like a classical city-ish sort of thing. I was curious something that started with a P, maybe. But again, my
Yeah, it
vision is lousy.
wasn't patrician.
Eileen's?
Sorry, what was that?
Eileen's?
Maybe it is. Did you guys catch other stuff people were playing? I know there were probably others I missed.
No, nothing.
Nothing's immediately jumping to mind.
Yeah, no.
All right.
No, not Pylene's.
All right. No, I'm like, that name didn't sound right.
Yeah,
so
no. I can picture the box and I can picture the P word on it, but I can't.
Yeah, it was a P word and it was a gray box.
Yeah.
Oh, well, they seem to enjoy it. I got to say, that was a long one. They played that the entire night, and I think they played some like Exploding Kittens or something at the very end of the night. But yeah, they definitely did it. Did enjoy it. First game we actually played, at least Deanna and I, and I've got to thank friends of the show, Jeff and Sheila Seuss, for this one, as it was a birthday gift from them, is Nana, Nana, which is 7 in Japanese. Is a Japanese memory-based card game. But before I get to the game, I do want to say congratulations, Jeff and Sheila Seuss, for the birth of their second child. They shared a picture with us on Discord the other day. Super cutie. Congrats, Seusses.
Yeah, congrats, guys. Nana is also known as, there's a North American version of it, and it's called Trio.
Yeah. So Trio and Nana are similar, but Trio plays up to 6 players, and no matter the player count, you play with the entire deck of cards. That's what I was able to determine the difference between the two of them. Now, this is a Japanese card game, fans all over the world. This is a super popular game. Again, I got it from Jeff and Sheila, but actually before that, it was recommended by Pete Wiseman, the designer of Crits and Tricks, and Jay Bernardo from Bezier Games has been trying to sit down with us at a con to teach us it. And we keep crossing paths. Now that I played it, I get why people are obsessed with this. This is a super quick, super simple card game that feels familiar and traditional while being accessible enough. I got my mom to play, because getting my mom to play anything is sometimes difficult. So what you have here is a deck of cards, number 1 to 12, and there's 3 copies of each number, 3 1s, 3 7s, so on. You lay out a set of cards face down on the table, deal out a hand to all the players. On your turn, you're trying to reveal 3 matching cards. You want to reveal all of the same number. And you do this like the Push Your Luck game Skull and Roses. That's what this really reminds me of this. You either flip up a face down card on the table or choose a player to reveal either their highest or lowest numbered card, and that player can be you. You then do it again. So you have 1 card revealed, and then you do it the same. You're like, okay, now you revealed your lowest. It's a 2. I want to find another 2. How about Deanna, you show me your lowest. And if it's a 2, I go again. And then I flip a card up at the table. And if it's a 2, I win that round and I get to collect them. But if at any point they don't match, if you're like, okay, Sean showed me a 2, Deanna, show me your lowest, and it's a 3, I bust, and you just take your cards back and you lose the round. We don't lose the round. Your turn's done and it goes to the next player. There are 3 ways to win. Collect 3 sets. So do that 3 times. Or, this one's weird, collect 2 sets, then when added or subtracted together, end up at 7. Now, again, 7's a magic number in Japan. Nana in Japanese is 7. 7 is the theme of the game. So, of course, the last way to win is be the player that collects the 3 7s. That's it. The only other changes in the game is based on player count, and it just affects how many cards are on the table and your hand size. And if you play with a low enough player count, you eliminate the 1s and 12s. The whole point is that you always have to use every card because you need that, because there's only 3 of each card. If it doesn't, you can't have hidden information in this game.
Yeah, I felt like your mom didn't quite get that part where you could collect 2 sets that either added or subtracted up to 7. Like, that was the one part that was just like, no, I don't get it. Collect
So
3 sets. I can do that. She did it the one round, but you had to tell her you won. And she's like, why did I win? I don't even know. Yeah. It also kind of felt like it was hard to try and do that intentionally, like to try and intentionally get, because so much of that game is random what you end up getting, what you end up finding. It's like a wacky version of Go Fish.
Yeah, it's got elements of Go Fish and elements of memory. And like, to me, I'm like, it's a good version of memory, the game, where you're flipping over things. And I really like that skull feel of, all right, you show me your highest. Okay. And then you you mess up. You're like, I've got the 9. Let's see if Dee's got the 9. Oh, she doesn't have the 9. Then I'm like, I'm just going to try to get information for next round. So next player, show me your lowest.
It's interesting because this game is actually now called Trio. So when it was originally released, it was Nana, but all versions since have been Trio from all the different publishers.
Next up. Even in Japan, they've changed the name to Trio?
As far as I can tell, the only versions that are that exist that are known as Nana were the English Japanese version and the Korean edition in 2021 and 2022. And all versions since have been from every country, including new English versions and such, have been called Trio.
What I want to mention before we move on is that the card art is super cute. Yes. Each number is a different animal, and it just, I don't know, has a kid's picture book feel to it. Like Mo felt that it looked very Japanese, but to me, it really looked like, these little hedgehogs over here, and this here, it looked like pages in a kid's picture book. They were adorable.
And yes, yeah, including the Japanese version, sorry.
That's the part where I think Trio falls down, is it doesn't have that cute Japanese look to it. Next up, Sean and I met us for a short game night. We replayed 2 games we're going to be reviewing later tonight. Star Explorer and Moonlight Market. Those are both from Queen's new family-friendly series, Family and Friends series. Then when we got home, Dee and I actually tried one of the Moonlight Market 2-player because it had a variant rule for 2 players, and we wanted to try that out. Now, Deanna and I have definitely talked about both these games quite a bit, going back to starting with our Adam coverage episode, which we'll link in the show notes. But this was your first play of each, Sean. Is there anything you want to say now, or should we just leave it for the reviews?
No, I think we can leave these for the reviews. We're gonna talk about them thoroughly there. So that's all for the games that we've been playing. What about you? What hit your table recently? We'd love to hear all about it on the Tabletop Bellhop Discord at discord.tabletopbellhop.com. We've got a channel there called What You've Been Playing, specifically for people to talk about their recent plays. Try to spot constellations in the rotating night sky in Star Explorer, a game from Queen Games' new Family and Friends collection.
So Family and Friends is a series of small box, lower price point games aimed at families, new gamers, and casual gamers. Now, while they're quick to learn and easy to play, we do encourage you not to discount these games. Like all the heavy gamers now, hit and skip on your podcatcher. Don't. Every one of these we played has been very solid. Now, Star Explorer in particular was designed by Łukasz Szapka and was originally published by Lucrum Studio as Night Sky Explorer, and that was in 2024. Queen picked up the game and has re-released it as Star Explorer in 2025. Now, the new Queen Games printing should be in stores this month. It was due to come out in June. I don't know if stores have it yet or not. And I do have to thank Queens for hooking us up with a review copy at Adam earlier this year.
Star Explorers plays 1 to 5 players, with games taking maybe half an hour, a bit more with the teach, which honestly is pretty quick. It's listed as ages 8+, which seems about right, though I think some younger kids could also play depending on the kid.
Physically, the Friends and Family games each come in a new, smaller box design from Queen that's fairly portable. While you can't toss it into a glove box, they're easy enough to carry around. In the box, you will find 4 player boards that you have to assemble using double-sided stickers that are included. It's a bit of a pain in the butt, and we strongly suggest that if you do pick up the game, find some time to do this before sitting down at a table for the first time with other players.
Yeah.
When done, the boards are 3-layered, as there's a starry sky disc that you insert into each one.
Now, in addition to the boards, you get a ton of oval constellation tiles, 5 dry erase markers that are actually white, not black, and the rules, which are presented in at least 4 different languages. I think it might be 5. So one of the things is don't be afraid of how thick the rule books look. It's because there's multiple languages. Each set's only a few pages. Rules are very clear and color-coded, which is something I love from Queen Games.
The only issue we've had with the components is that the boards are very glossy because they're dry erase, right? So depending on your overhead lighting, there can be a lot of glare. Also, the erasers for the markers work, but not really well. So you
Yeah.
probably want to have some paper towels or something else on hand to use instead of the erasers.
Also, one note, the comments on Board Game Geek mention low quality markers. This may have been a problem with the original version, but we have gotten no problem with the markers that are coming from the Queen version of this game. Now, gameplay starts with everyone grabbing a board and a sky disc, which is inserted into the board and rotated so that the one is aligned with the arrow at the top of the board. Then everyone gets a random starting tile and a set of tiles including one of each number from 5 to 10, including a second number 7.
Now, each turn in Star Explorer starts with the active player picking one of their tiles to play, but they're only doing this based on the number of stars on the tile and what color star that tile will score. They don't get to see the constellation. They don't know what they're drawing yet. Now, once they pick a number, everyone else then finds the same number in their tiles and everyone flips. Each tile shows a different real constellation the players are then going to have to draw on their star map.
One of the neat things in this game is the way the board interacts with the star map, and that you can only see part of the night sky at a time, which represents what you could see through your telescope. So when drawing the constellations, you're limited to just one part of the night sky. And the drawing is pretty simple. You just circle the stars and then connect the dots to match the pattern on your revealed tile to add that constellation into your star map.
Now, there are some restrictions here. You can't use a star in more than one constellation. You can't break up your constellation. You can't cross over another constellation. And you can't use the sun as part of your constellation, kind of obviously. Now, when drawing, if you ever can't place one or more of your stars, you can skip them, called fading a star, and take a 3-point penalty each time you do that.
Now, after everyone's done drawing, and no, there's no time limit. This isn't real time. Everyone's drawing at once, but you don't have to rush. Once you've drawn it, you're then going to score what you just wrote. Now, your last tile, or the starting tile on the first turn, will indicate one color of star, and you're going to get points shown for each of those stars you used. Then the current tile, the newly flipped up, will show another color, which may be the same color. It could be a different one, and you're going to get points for every time you use that color. Then you get points for every line connecting those two colors. And again, if they're both the same color, it's every line connecting, say, two purples. Now you're going to track your score on the edge of the map, then record the total on your main player board.
After everyone has calculated the scores, they rotate their disc by 60 degrees, matching up the next round number with the top arrow. So you're seeing a different section of your sky now. Play continues with the start player passing to the left and going until you've completed 6 rounds using all but one of the player constellation tokens.
At the end of the game, everyone removes their completed constellation map and bonus points are awarded. You get points for using stars on the very edge of the map, for each star next to the sun you use, and for each line that crosses the meridian, a line dividing the sky map in two in the northern and southern hemispheres. The player with the most stars or most points wins.
So Deanna and I both got to try Star Explorers at Atom 2025. Now, this was a gamers retreat put on by Queen Games, along with other publishers Inside Up Games and Eagle Griffin Games. This was actually one of the games they were showing off as part of the event. And I'm glad they did, because I'm not sure I would have sought this game out myself. If I saw this on the shelf, it probably wouldn't have jumped out at me.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I don't think I would have got around to trying this one if I hadn't been invited to sit down and play it at Atom. And it was super cool. I really enjoyed it. But I have to say that first time when I played it at Atom, it broke my brain. I could not wrap my brain around the spatial. I would look at the tile. I'm going to draw the tile. I know exactly where I'm going to put it. Oh, it doesn't actually fit there. Well, no, it doesn't actually fit there either. And I was starting to think that, there was just something wrong with me. My brain was not understanding this game. Like, just how hard is it to draw a 7-star constellation onto this map? I should be able to do this. It gets easier.
Yeah, the big thing I find players have a hard time with is you get used to a grid being, north-south, like square. And once your disc turns a couple times, it's 60 degrees off, right? Not 45 either. It's just like ends up at odd things. And I find people have a hard time distinguishing the difference between straight lines and diagonals. sometimes when drawing their constellation. So it's something to be careful. Our girls are the ones that recommend like take your disc and like literally rotate it so that the star alignment is the same on your actual player board as it is on the disc. Now, the game I did play at Adam was a bit unique and kind of broke the rules in a way because the organizers cracked open like 3 or 4 copies of the game and then hosted a game with like 12, 20. I don't even know. It wasn't everyone who was there, but it was a large group of players. I think it was at least 12. Now, the game is technically only designed to play 5, but you know what? It worked. And I got to say that first play won me over. Maybe it's because I came in first out of those players, but I don't think so. And I just immediately knew I wanted a copy. First off, I thought my kids and my mother-in-law would love it. It's just that right casual family feeling game. But I also thought this would be fantastic for our local public play events.
So I have to say, I get my defenses up when I see games based on constellations, but this isn't some silly thing. There's no astrology here. This is based on the real world and doesn't need you to believe in any crazy moons ascending. It also doesn't require a deep knowledge of astronomy, though. So it's both approachable for everyone and could encourage young astronomers as well.
I'm going to be honest and say I think what turned me off of this one when I first saw it was like it's very toyerific looking, and I thought it was going to be just like a gimmick, gimmicky thing that is not actually fun and playable. It is not that.
Yeah. So getting back to the fact we played a 12-player game, the reason this works, which could be a good or a bad thing, depending on your personal preference and the people you play with, is the reason you can play 12 players is because this is multiplayer solitaire. This really is, like, more than most games I've ever played. The only actual interaction between players is when the active player tells you which numbered tile you have to use. And there's no real way to like pick a bad tile to hurt someone else in this game. Like, yes, I guess you could look at someone's board and it looks very busy, so you pick the 10, but like that's really pushing it. Now, this is also why the solo mode is basically play the game, right? When you play this solo, all you do is you pick your own tiles in rounds. I don't remember, but it's like 1, 3, and 6 or 1, 3, and 5. And then the others, you shuffle your tiles and draw one. And honestly, that's kind of what it feels like when you're playing with other people too, is when I'm the active player, I get to pick one, but otherwise you just tell me what to do. Now, I got to admit, I don't mind this at all, but I know lots of people prefer more interaction in their games. So this one's going to be very group dependent that way.
It is very multiplayer solitaire. It also means it speeds things up because you are all playing simultaneously. It also makes it more casual. And, we played it the other night at the brewery with Sean. And this is a great game to play while you're still having a conversation and such, because it's that multiplayer solitaire and you can be chatting at the same time.
Yeah, the only thing you have to worry about is if one person is struggling and unable to comprehend how things fit into a thing, they might take a little bit longer, and you don't want to overly distract them while they're trying to work out those details.
Yes. Now, one thing that to me sets Star Explorers apart from other flip and write games or whatever roll and write games is this not bingo. Most of the flip and writes and roll and writes and whatever you want to call them I played have it where you generate one thing, right? Like you flip one card and then everyone has to draw what's on the card. Or you roll the dice and everyone has to use the same numbers, or you have to draw the same symbols, or you're basically all having to use the same thing. Where here, every single constellation in the game is unique. My 5 will be different than Sean's 5, which will be different from Dee's 5, which will be different from Dave's 5. And there's 5 different 5s in the game at 5 players. And there's twice as many 7s. And this struck out to me because it made the game feel more interesting than many of the other rando rights I played.
Yeah, and this one was great because it adds that aspect of asymmetry that the game is otherwise missing. And actually makes me wonder why they would try it with the 12-player version, because as soon as you open up that second box, you now have people competing head-to-head with the same possible constellations, so you could actually be, okay, just who fitted in better, as opposed to how it is now.
It's still randomized, though, so they're not going to have the same set of 8 tiles. They might have one. They're doing the same number 5, but they don't have the same number 6 and 8. So, it's still a different star map.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, the way they did that is they just made piles on the table and told everyone grab one of each number. Like they literally just dump them all. So yes, you would have some overlap, but again, you're not getting the same input for the whole game. Now, I don't know. I'm still curious to try it the other way. Though it's going to be difficult to share the tiles, just because I always kind of like in bingo games that whole we all start with the same thing and our end boards look so different. That's something I like in those games. But I do think that Star Explorers is better for not having that.
If you wanted to do it that way, you just have to slow the game right the heck down. Because you can't put it in the middle of the table and have me draw that constellation. I need to pick it up and place it on my board. So it's going to be like I draw and I pass it to Sean, and now Sean can draw. Well, I, drink my beer and contemplate the universe.
Now, what I like the most about this game, about Star Explorer, is just how approachable it is. Now, part of this is the theme, right? Stargazing, astronomy, and it uses real constellations. And I love the window in your player board where you can only see part of the night sky. Like that just ties in the you can only see what's in your telescope. I love that. I adore that. And then I like that, like when you come back to your telescope later, the stars have moved. They've rotated, right? Just like in real life. And I love the way that board moves. So yeah, so it's a little bit of a pain in the ass to put together the 3-layer boards. And yes, it looks a little toyetic. It just works really well when you're playing. And then there's just the really straightforward mechanics. Like there's you're circling things and playing connect the dots. Like it's not a difficult game to learn or teach. And to me, this is a perfect fit for a new line of games that are aimed at new gamers, casual gamers, and families. I think it's a perfect fit. Like it hits its mission statement perfectly.
Yeah, the singular thing that bothered me in this game was the definition of which stars are on the edge of the map. Now, this is part of your end game scoring, and it defines it as a specific set of 12 stars, which are at basically, the four cardinal directions, I guess, of the circle. Yeah. But there are an additional 8 stars that, if I'm looking at that board, I think they are at the edge, but those aren't counted in the definition. And that bugged me a little bit, but again, it's just one of those things like, why is that? But okay, fine. That's just how they defined it. Moving on.
The part of the game that I dig is after you've drawn in your first quadrant and you turn it, and then you draw in the second quadrant, but then you turn it, and as you go, it lines up such that some of the ones you just used are still there, and you're sometimes surprised by how much or how little space you've left yourself. And then that big reveal when you get to the 6th quadrant and spin it around and go, oh, I have backed myself into a corner. And then your opponent says, draw something that has 8 stars in it.
Moments I enjoy in this game include someone picking the 10, right? 10's a lot of stars. That star map's not that big, but just managing to fit in all 10 without having to fade any away. That's just like a personal victory. I fit my 10. Finishing up the game without ever having to fade a single star is extremely rewarding, and you just feel like you won. Doesn't matter what the score is now. I didn't have to fade a star, right? It's a personal victory. I love crossing the meridian. That's worth a lot of points, and that always feels like a win. And then, of course, there's that moment at the end of the game, and this is ephemeral. It's just everyone pulls out their discs, and you get to see them. And I love the look of those finished discs with all these white constellations drawn on them. It just looks really cool. And you put them all out on the table and you can kind of compare what everyone drew. And it looks like one of those, you buy a star map with the constellations on it at a store or whatever. It just actually kind of looks like that. And I really dig that.
It's fun to be able to see what's happened, especially because everyone is going to have something different, including different constellations. So it's interesting to see, what did you get to work with? What did you have to do? Because depending on the size of the table and the number of players, you may not have been able to, glance left or right as you were doing things to see what your other players have been doing.
Now, I will say, I think the games of this where I've won was when I faded a bunch of stars. But you're right. Finishing the game without fading any stars, you're like, I feel like I won. I succeeded. I did the victory condition, even if it doesn't give you the best points. And I also love it when I'm sitting there trying to figure out, and there's nowhere this is going to possibly fit. And then all of a sudden you realize, oh, if I just rotate it like this, I can actually squeak it in. It does fit there. And again, maybe it's not the best scoring position, but the fact that I managed to fit that 8 in there and I didn't have to fade anything, or, I'm like, that's just a happy moment.
Yeah, I got to say, from winning the game, I think not fading stars is a trap, to be honest. You're actually way better filling in matching stars that match the colors you're trying to collect that round and drawing those lines between the matching colors than just fitting every star. But there is something there about wanting to not take that penalty.
Yeah, it's just satiating. You're like, I made it fit. Yeah.
So I got to say, huge thanks to Queen for showing us this game, because honest, without that initial play at Adam, I probably would have completely overlooked this game, and I'm so glad we didn't. This is an excellent family weight game with enough going on to engage old, jaded hobby gamers like us. It's got a cool theme. The theme ties in well to the gameplay. It's easy to teach. It plays quickly. I was right. My family did indeed love it. It's also been popular at her daughter's high school board game club. And she calls it out as one of her favorite 2-player games where she'll just play with her close friends. So far, every game has worked well. It plays great at all player counts, which I guess is another advantage of that multiplayer solitaire. And it's been a pretty big hit at our public play events. And it looks cool. Like, honestly, like I said, the toyetic game boards look really neat and draw people's attention in. This is a game that when you're playing it, you'll have what are you playing? And what I love is that's often followed by, can I try next?
Yeah, I have to say this, much like Mo and D, this is a game I probably would have passed by. If it was sitting on the shelf, I would have ignored it. And much to my regret, I would have ignored it, because this is a fun little filler game. It takes no time to teach. It's a quick game to play. And I beat everyone last night without fading a single star. So
there you go.
Well, yes, you did. I have nothing to add to what Mo said. He hit all the points. This is a great and unique entry level, like a welcoming gateway game that folks should just check out.
So, yeah, if you enjoy casual game nights, you're looking for welcoming games you can introduce at family gatherings or holidays, looking for something to play with the grandkids, see how I tied that to the episode, you should check out Star Explorer from Queen Games.
Now, if multiplayer solitaire is not your jam, you probably want to skip this one. Though, if you do like games that are puzzles for you to solve on your own, or if you want a game that you can play with strangers without having to interact with them much, this could be the game for you.
We also think astronomy fans are going to dig this game, and it could be the perfect gift for a stargazer who doesn't know yet how much they love modern board games.
Now the sun has gone down, the moon has come up, and long ago somebody left with the cup. It's time for us to go check the telescope. Thank you for joining us for this review of Star Explorer from Queen Games.
So the one problem with stargazing is you do it at night and it tends to get a little chilly. So one thing that could help keep us warm on a dark spring night is some coffee. If you enjoyed this review, how about you send us a top-up by heading to tabletopbellhop.com/coffee.
You won't find any cube towers here. Moonlight Market is the latest game from Dirk Henn and is a set collection game about building necklaces through buying gems through a unique card-based bidding mechanism.
So Moonlight Market is published by Queen Games, who we have to thank for sending us home from Adam 2025 with a review copy. This game is part of their new Friends and Family game series, which consists of lower price point, smaller box games that are both quick to learn and to play.
This set collection majority scoring board game plays 1 to 5 players and plays better at the higher player counts. Yeah. Games take about an hour, less with experienced players, and are perfect for your family game night or when you want something more casual.
Now, as Mo noted, Moonlight Market comes in a small box, which is odd for Queen. Another oddity is that the game includes some component organization as part of it. Along with a ton of necklace tokens, player boards, scoring standees, and seal tokens, the punch boards include a box to hold everything, in which the scoreboard becomes the lid. There's also a set of cards in each of 5 player colors numbered 1 to 13.
Yeah, the component quality here is good, and the box insert thing's actually kind of neat. It makes the game set up pretty quick, and if you toss your broken tokens into the box as you play, it kind of makes cleanup a breeze. You kind of clean it up as you're playing it. Now, as usual from Queen, the rulebook is color-coded and fantastic. And don't be scared of the size because there's multiple languages in those books.
Yeah, I actually really dig the way that this game sort of cleans itself up as you play it. The only thing I would have liked is if the numbers on the gem tokens were a little bigger. There's lots of space on the tokens. They could have easily made it a larger font. And it's fine when it's in front of you, but you want to be able to add up and clearly see the scores of people across the table.
Mhm.
So a little larger would have been awesome.
Now, each player starts the game with a player board and 3 seals, as well as their own deck of cards numbered 1 to 13. They shuffle this deck and draw a hand of 4 cards. A set of pillow boards is placed out on the table, and each is filled with a random assortment of jewels sitting on each pillow. And that's the start of the Moonlight Market's 4 rounds. Each of these rounds is then broken up into 3 bidding phases.
So each phase, the starting player, which is random the first round, but then becomes the player who won the biggest pillow last time, chooses 1 card to place next to a pillow face up as a bid. They're trying to claim the gems on that pillow. The first phase, you're bidding on the gems on the left of each pillow. The second bidding phase, you're going for the middle set. And the third bidding phase, you're going for the final set that's on the right.
The next player then places their bid. They can place it next to an empty pillow, or they can bump another player's bid if they bid a higher amount. When this happens, that player gets their bid card back, and when it comes back around to them, they have to use that same card to rebid. When bumping another player, you have to give them one of your seals, and if you don't have any seals, you can't bump anyone. Now, if you did get bumped and it comes back to you, if your card is higher, you can bump another player. So, for example, if I get a 6 handed back to me, but Mo's already played a 5, I could then bump him with my 6, and now he would have to place in the last spot available, or possibly bump Sean if Sean had a lower card.
Yep.
All right. Now, once bidding is finalized, everyone collects the gem tokens from the pillows that they won. Gems come in 5 colors, and there's a spot to place these tokens under each player's board, making a chain of matching colored gems forming necklaces. Now, you have to be careful, though, as these necklaces are fragile. If you ever collect a 4th gem of a color, the existing necklace of 3 breaks, and you remove those tokens from the game. As a small compensation for this, if you built a good enough necklace and the total is 20 or more of the broken tokens, you do get a seal from the bank.
Now, in addition to 5 different colors of gems with numbers on them, there are a few other special tokens that can come up. There's a ×2 in each color, which if it's the only gem you have, times by 0 is worth nothing. But as long as you have one other gem in that necklace, you're going to double the score. There are a few zeros. These don't have a gem on them. They're just worth 0. And you can place them wherever you want, but they do take up a spot. So with that 3 gem limit on your necklaces before they break, the 0 counts as one of those. So they kind of suck. There are seal tokens on some of the tokens, and those you don't actually place on a necklace. You just toss them back in the box, and then you get a seal to use later. And then there is a hammer token, which sounds terrible, but is actually very useful. It lets you break a single link on one of your chains. Finally, there are some tokens that show multiple colors of gems. So when you get one of those, you put it into one of the columns, but then you can't move it. So if it's got blue and red, I can put it under blue, or I can put it under red. And once it's placed in one of those, you can't move it out.
Love those hammer tokens. After the bidding phase, the pillows are going to be empty, and you complete a scoring round. You now score each color gem one at a time. The player with the most of a color gets 4 points, and then second place gets 2, and third place gets 1. At the end of the first 3 rounds, players are going to have 1 card left in their hand at the end of each of the first 3 rounds. And that card gets placed onto the bottom of your draw deck, and that's going to form your hand for the final round.
At the end of the 4th round, there's some additional final scoring. Every player will have 1 card left. You score this based on whoever has the highest number, second highest, etc., using the same point system as for the gems. Then you do the same thing for leftover seals. In all of these majority scoring phases, ties are friendly. If 2 players tie for a second, they both get 2 points.
Now, what I'm not sure is clear from this overview is just how much player interaction there is in this game. Now, not just due to bidding and outbidding each other. That's very important. It's a big part of the game. This is a bidding game, but it's how important it is to look at what the other players have, what they've already bid on, what's available in the market, and what's coming up in the next phase. Watching your opponent's moves and boards, honestly, is as much important as looking at your own. And to me, that's the key to playing Moonlight Market well. And this makes this game fantastic for more than just families and casual gamers. The family-friendly casual game, you might just focus on your own thing, trying to get what you're collecting. But the hardcore gamers, the really competitive players, the players who like to outplay each other, are going to love the amount of information you have in this game. This is a simple to learn game without a lot of mechanics, but there is a lot to watch for and think about.
Yeah, there's a lot to be paying attention to here. And one of the parts I think I love the best is looking over there, realizing, yes, you've been winning with your nice, expensive necklace of 3, but I am going to do something to force you to get that 4th red tile. Like, I'm going to outbid you, and then you're going to end up with red, and that's going to mess up your necklaces. I like that one.
Yeah, I think one of the problems with this game that some people might have, and I think Dee has it to some degree, especially because of her eyesight, is there's a lot of, you need to pay attention to everything that's out there and recalculate numbers constantly, because everybody's chains is made up of 1, 2, or 3 numbers, and it's the totals that matter. And you need to think about the totals that you're going to get when you pick your next thing, and when the totals when you're bidding, or what other totals people are going to be getting if they bid for that. And so there's a lot of constant calculation going on.
Right. And I will acknowledge that my vision is subpar, and most people have way better eyes than I do. I was glad to play with Mo and Sean, because I don't mind asking Sean over and over again, what is the total on your blue necklace? Okay, now what is the total on your blue necklace? Well, how about you, Mo? Okay, now
Yeah, and that's what I was going to comment on. What Sean just said is that is a valid way to play. This is not a hidden information game. Everything's right out in the open. It's not a perfect information game, but you can see everything. And there's nothing stopping you from going, hey, what's your total in red right now? What's your total in green right now? Hey, who has the highest yellow right now?
Right. And unlike in some other games, I don't feel like that's really giving away much when I'm asking that.
Yeah, you're not broadcasting anything by asking.
Yeah, some commenters have pointed out that this could actually be better as an app-based game or something on Board Game Arena, simply because those totals could just be put there for you, and you don't have to do the math constantly.
Yeah, honestly, I do think this would make a pretty good app, though I don't think Queen's known for putting their games in app format. Now, what I like about this game is it's a big puzzle, right? You are looking at those things. You're looking at everyone's player board. You're looking at your own player board. You're looking at what's up on the pillows. You're looking, like, at that first start of the first phase, you're probably looking 3 phases ahead, right? Like, you're literally planning ahead and trying to get that strategy. And I like that feel of puzzle solving. Now, I might go in pretty much blind the first couple phases, because you don't know, right? Like, who's going to collect what. But once people have started to collect some gems, especially once you get to, I think, the end of the first round, it starts becoming that puzzle of figuring out, is there something I can do for me or is there something I can do to hinder other players that helps me? And there's some interesting stuff here, because there's a random factor. This isn't chess. This isn't a perfect information game. You don't know what bids other players have in their hands. You just know what's on the pillows, and you don't know what's going to be on the pillows next round. To me, this helps keep the game accessible and makes it so it's not that memorization game where the player who can count better wins. And then there's also the randomness of the market. Like, what gems come out? You're not going to break your red if no red come out, right? Or you're not going to be able to improve your green. Or every single pillow might have a blue on it, and if you're sitting at 3 blues, you're stuck. At the end of the round, you're breaking something. I don't know. I really enjoy this. I like that you don't know it, and it limits the long-term strategy, which honestly I think is a good thing. I think it fits well in this game.
I like the way you have the 4 cards in your hand, and you have to decide which 3 you're going to use now and which one you're going to put aside, so that you end up with it in your final round. Yeah. And, you might have 3 really low cards and 1 high one. Are you going to use it right now to make sure you win something this round, or are you going to save it for the end, right? I like that choice. And I forget the other point I was going to make, so I'm going to hand it off to Sean.
It's interesting. This game is deceptively weighty. It doesn't have to have a lot of weight. you can play this very casually with intro players and things move along smoothly. But as you play it with more experienced players and you get more experience with this game, the game gets heavier because there are so many more things you can be looking at and paying attention to. The only thing I don't know is how soon the game might get a little on the boring side because, well, yes, it's going to be random every time. You're never going to get the same layouts. The progress is similar after a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'll admit,
You're right.
I've gotten sick
I
of it
probably
yet.
wouldn't want to play it once a week for the rest of my life, but you know, it's good for what it is. It's quick, lightweight, it's family friendly kind of thing. And I remembered what I wanted to point out is I love the bidding mechanic. I love the way you bump and the what ends up happening with the strategic bumping and all of that. I like that. I just like the way it plays out.
Yep. Yeah, there's the ephemeral thing about this game to me is it feels satisfying to me. Like I enjoy it. I love the fact you keep your tokens. Like to me, that's what makes this game work, right? You're not playing 4 separate rounds where you're trying to collect things. You're carrying things over. And if you're playing well, you get to do the thing where you just like keep a really good scoring set of 3 for multiple rounds. That's very satisfying. You can't go through the game though without breaking necklaces. Like it's inevitable. It is going to happen and you have to accept that. And the key is trying to make sure you break them on your terms when you want to and not being forced to ditch a high scoring set when you don't want to. Now, this is also what can make the game quite cutthroat. And honestly, this is what makes, to me, the 2-player game work. So when playing with 2 players, you add in a bot player, Dirk, the designer of the game, whose deck you just shuffle at the start of the game. Each auction round, you just flip the top card. He tries to bid on the highest pillow. And if he can't, he goes down lower. If he can outbid you, he automatically does and gives you a token. That's it. And then when you collect his necklace pieces, you just have to put them in lowest number first. And then he goes left to right for anything where there's multiple choices. It's simple. It works. But I got to say, what's fun is when you can manipulate Dirk to hurt your opponent. I find that very satisfying.
Yeah, that's definitely the fun part. I was amused because we were sitting there going, why is the automaton named Dirk? And I was like making quips about Dirk the Daring. And then we realized, because Dirk Hen. That makes perfect sense. I didn't love it at 2. Like, it's okay. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with the game. It's just somehow more fun with more players.
Well, I think when you get more players, the auction, it takes on more life. And that is really what is part of this game. And something I thought I'd never say is I like this auction mechanic. I generally hate auctions. And this one, I think in large part because of the randomness of you've got 4 cards in your hand. You have no idea, other than possibly in the last round, if you've counted carefully, what anyone else has. Yeah. You're using a strategy that might completely and horribly fail because you just don't know. And for some reason, that bidding system worked for me. I enjoyed it.
So some of the moments I enjoy in Moonlight Market, the parts I find the most fun is if I finish a round where I have 3 gems in all 5 columns. Like that just feels satisfying. You're like, oh, look at that. Especially if I win majority in at least 3 or 4 of those. But then I get to the next round and realize this is absolutely horrible and I'm screwed unless I manage to pull that off in the last round. Anytime I break a necklace where 20 points feels like a small victory, right? That just feels, yep, I got the 20 points, sweet, even if it's just 1 seal, which honestly doesn't mean that much. The groan when a player gets to the 4th round and they realize what cards they've left themselves. This tends to be a first couple game mistake, but I always find it amusing when they're like, all right, and it's round 4. Oh my God, what have I done to myself? That just makes me laugh. I love collecting a huge stack of seals for some reason, even though like at the most they're worth 4 points to me, but there's something satisfying about a big pile in front of me. And I love bidding rounds where multiple people get bumped. That's where like a 5-player game where everyone gets bumped once is awesome. Where you're like, okay, I bump you and you get your card back. It comes around and say, well, now I'm going to bump them. Oh, okay. And then I'm going to bump them and everyone gets bumped. And then like the one player, then it's like, oh, I'm left with this. I don't know. I just find that lots of fun.
No, I do too. I love that when the bidding starts making wacky bumping things happen. I love it when I manage to squeak by and not screw up my beautiful necklace. And I do not know why you wanted to have a stack 3 inches tall of seals. I just
I don't know. It's
4
totally
points
fair.
is 4
Like,
points.
you go collect the seals. It's fine. Get your 4 points. I'll win other ways. So Moonlight Market was one of the games that we were actually introduced to at Adam 2025. This is a gamer retreat put on by Eagle Griffin Games, Inside Up Games, and Queen Games. It's held at the Amazing Gamers Ranch. And I got to say, you should check out our Adam recap episode just to find out why you should go to the Gamers Ranch. Like, seriously, the place is amazing. And I got to say, it was awesome that Ian from Queen Games took the time to share this game with us, because I've been kind of hooked on it. It's just a really neat bidding game. Like, I think the only auction system I like better right now is Power Grid. Like, this is just a really neat bidding game with a lot going on. It still manages to be family friendly. Like, it's still easy to learn. It's still simple mechanics. It's not a hard game. There's nothing hard or complicated here. And the math is nice, basic math. Like, don't make it sound like we're adding and dividing and multiplying and taking the square root to figure out how strong a thing is. It's like, no, I'm adding 5 to 8 to 9, right? Maybe I'm timesing it by 2. I love the thematic tie-ins. Like, this isn't the most tied to theme, and yes, you could probably retheme this many different things, but I dig the idea of breaking necklaces, and that makes the games easy to remember. You put too much weight on the necklace, too many gems, it's too thin and it breaks. I kind of like that. To me, this is a great filler game. It's fun with gamers of all experience levels. That's particularly cutthroat with a group of experienced hobby gamers, especially once people have some system mastery of this game.
I love what Queen is doing with this new friends and family line. Like, I think this game is just perfect, on target for that. It's just a great entry level welcoming game that is also fun to play as an experienced hobby gamer. Like, they hit the mark.
If you dig bidding games and auctions, you got to check out Moonlight Market. You just got to play that auction. It's just so awesome. I really like the bidding system. Heck, it won over Sean. I like the limited hand of cards, the imperfect information, and the way outbidding and bumping works. I think people who dig set collection and majority scoring are also going to enjoy Moonlight Market, especially if you like this game best, where there's lots of player interactions and ways to screw over your opponents, as well as help yourself. That is, as long as you don't mind getting screwed over yourself now and then.
If you're someone like me who tends to prefer crunchier games, like, don't be turned off the fact that this is in the friends and family line and that it's quick to teach and it looks a little simplistic. It is. There's more meat here than you think. Sit down and give it a try.
Yeah, this will be, it isn't actually yet, but this will be the third of the friends and family games from Queen, starting with Dabawala, which I loved, followed up by Star Explorer, which I love, and now Moonlight Market, which I also am really enjoying.
Yep. Yeah, I got to say that the Queen's done a great job with this. So keep it up, Queen. More coming. I think Power Lines, Deanna and I have played, is in this, and as well as a new printing of Alhambra at a lower price point that includes some of the expansions. That one we did bring a copy home for. So you'll get to hear about that one in the coming weeks.
Well, I think the sun is rising, so it's time to shut down this review of the Moonlight Market. I hope you all got your gems of wisdom you need to make an informed choice about this family and friends game from Queen Games.
Now, what I would love for you all to do next is to leave a comment wherever you found this review and tell us about what you think is a great family weight welcoming game that has enough depth to it to keep heavy gamers like me engaged and entertained. You know, games that are great for hooking new gamers, but also keep coming out with your regular hobby game group. What's your recommendation?
Well, that was the double bell.
That means our shift's coming to an end, and we're going to have to lock those lobby doors. Sorry, folks.
Before we start locking things down, let's take a moment to thank a selection of our Tabletop Bellhop Patreon patrons.
Thank you, Chris Leary.
Hey, Dave Hutchinson. Thank you.
Roger Malosh, thanks so much.
Thank you, Diane Tuzno.
Thanks, Kat and Tori and family.
Jeff and Sheila Seuss, thank you and congratulations. Well, your first stop to finding us should be at tabletopbellhop.com. But you can find us all over the web as Tabletop Bellhop, one word, or on your podcatcher of choice as the Tabletop Bellhop Gaming Podcast.
We're here to answer your gaming game night questions. We say it multiple times throughout the episode, but it's honestly true. That's what I live for. I love talking about games and I love helping people out. If you have a question for us, anything game related, set us up, hook us up. Do it online. Email me, mo@tabletopbellhop.com. Sorry, questions at tabletopbellhop.com is a little better. You know what? Both will work. I don't really care. Hit me up on social media, Tabletop Bellhop, one word. Hopefully we'll be back on Facebook soon. We'll see. Click on Ask the Bellhop on our webpage. You just go there. It's at the top. Click on it and you'll get a form to fill out. Hit us up on social media. See us in person. You see us at a gaming event. You got a question. Come up and ask. That's what we're here for. It's what I love to do.
And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening. And please share this episode with other gamers that you think might enjoy it.
That's all for us tonight.
For the Tabletop Bellhop Gaming Podcast, I'm Sean.
I'm Deanna.
And I'm Mo.
Thank you.
And game
on.